You're listening to Force Majeure, an actual play Star Wars podcast. My name is Adam and I'm your host. And today's episode will be brought to you after this question from our characters.
Okay, so this is a question from Kay, and it's to the dock. We're driving in the little our little lava vehicle, and everything's been going on. We've been attacked by the squid. We've broken through, and we've seen these quite clearly augmented squid. And Kay turns and glances at the dock and says, "Well, it looks like we're doomed. They've got weapons. There's not much we can do about this. I think this is it. Is there anything you regret not doing? Anything you wish you had done before we get destroyed and eaten by these terrible cybernetic magma kraken?"
I'd have liked grandkids.
Well, I mean, that's going to happen anyway, even if you're not alive.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I would like to get to know them.
Yeah. Never really had kids. Are you allowed to have a favourite?
I don't think we think of things in favourites around here. I think because there's no putting, if you like, all your eggs in one basket, as the phrase goes. You don't, because you have. There is a reason why I have 4 wives and many kids. It's because it maximises chances. It's just, there's no point having one favourite. You appreciate all of them.
I want to dive and interrupt here, just grab him and go, "He's just said we're moments from death! Pick a child that you love!
I was expecting royalty to go, "It's Katie, for crying out loud! You don't pay enough attention to this one!"
It's a favourite child, and why isn't it Oogla?
It's this one, it's really obvious. They all know it.
And I just produce one of your children.
In from this other cookie jar. This is the one who wanted to come on the science trip. She loves you, Daddy.
I'm in danger. Sorry.
You do realise that's an entire spin-off show?
Yes, it's Tiny Tyker's Adventures, I think.
You're listening to Force Majeure. My name's Ed Fortune, and we're going to play some Star Wars. This is normally the bit that Adam does, but I'm doing it now. Hurrah, for some reason. I'm very confused. It's been a while, and I'm out of practice, and I've always been bad at introductions. Hi, my name's Ed Fortune, and I will be your storyteller, DM, were-wizard. I've made this joke before. If anyone knows where were-wizard is from, you get an extra special Ed point from me, by the way, without looking it up. Anyway, can't play this game on my own because it's just a Geordie babbling nonsense, and you can find that everywhere. So, honestly, I need some friends, and luckily I have some, I think. So, could you please introduce yourselves?
My name is Adam. I play Tychus Bar, a Basilisk Guardian Armourer, whose emotional strength is his bravery, but his weakness is recklessness.
Hi, I'm Ross. I play Dr. Smex Karam Denalawa, a Cerean consular healer whose emotional strength is his compassion, but whose weakness is his obstinacy.
Hi, I'm Mim. I play Roy. Roy is a modified B1 battle droid. He's a career as a hired gun and specializations as a bodyguard and heavy, and he has an obligation to the Bar family.
Hi, I'm Mikey. I play Kay. He's a human, a terrorist striker navigator with a emotional strength of compassion, but emotional weakness of hatred.
Previously, you had literally just arrived within what you're pretty sure is the heart of Cerea. To be unromantic about it, you've gone through some perilous lava caves. You've snuck in to this planet. Literally, you've forged papers. You've gotten onto a national park site. You've realised that forces aligned to criminal / imperial sides are paying attention to this. You've snuck into incredibly dangerous environments to get yourself to what can only be described as a wonder of this world. It is just to re-describe it, this massive space. It is almost like a world within a world, and it is full of multicolored crystals. There is a thick fog of environment. To be clear, you know immediately that if you were to take your helmets off, you would not last very long. You are relying on your environmental equipment to be alive here. It's not just the heat, though it's cooler than elsewhere. There are chemicals around you that are not safe. there's probably oxygen here. You might not be able to prove it. They are beautiful. They're essentially crystalline birds floating around. They are these strange, I believe we called them phase jelly creatures that are just bobbing, floating, kind of like these little blobs of just eyes and tendrils that flash different colours and different lights. And on the outskirts surrounding this vast area, or these, what can best be described as this naturally forming temple of giant Syrian woman's head dominates this environment. It looks like it's naturally hewn out of the rock, and to the right-hand side is a similar smaller head of an older man, and on the left-hand side is the head of a much younger man. The older man it screams the word father, if you see what I mean. Like, not literally, but it's what you'd expect a kind of patriarchal figure to look like. Whereas the youth is a youth, kind of the sort of person that you wouldn't want to lend money to. It looks extremely kind of, not necessarily criminal, but sly. Whereas the female Syrian head is serene and kind of at one. On the floor is tiled, weirdly, despite the fact that there's these natural outcroppings and there's what can best be described as crystalline plants. There is gold and silver lines, there is tiling, and as you haven't even left the ship yet, but as you look around, you see some of these phase jellies on the ground with cybernetic or machinery attached to them. What would you like to do, party?
I mean, first question, I'm just jumping into this. The faces of the three Cereans, would I interpret based on the fact that their youth looks sort of violent and thuggish more than that this was... I know you said it's sort of naturally hewn, but would I assume it was created by someone who wasn't naturally a Cerean, or by someone who was an outsider and who maybe didn't like us?
If you were asking one of the great Cerean artists of your world's history to create a picture of a non-humorous, a serious picture of a Cerean youth, as in the rebellious youth in full blush, that would be it, if you see what I mean.
It's not exactly exaggerated, but it's slightly caricature and emphasising that aspect.
More like if you asked Cerean Michelangelo to create a statue called the Rebel, that would be the face.
Okay.
It is incredibly well done, but it also has that, it feels so well done that it's almost like a giant's face has been frozen, if you see what I mean. But boy, that person would have been handsome. Okay.
So this is Cerean James Dean or something?
Yes, Cerean James Dean. But it's a work of art. You know immediately what it's the idea that it's trying to relate to you. And you also know that above ground there are three famous natural rocky outcroppings that are called the father, son and daughter. Famously. It's like a natural wonder of your world. There's an entire park built around it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that the father is... Well, no, we're all inside the father of those three, aren't we?
Well, this is it. So it's the wrong way round, because the father is the big one up top, but here it's the daughter that what you would call the daughter is the big one.
Yeah, as I understood it, we've not tunnelled into the Mount Rushmore head that is the father. We've just gone into the lava flows under a lake.
Yes.
But they are what the park is based on.
Yes.
My thought, and I may have misunderstood the scale of this, is it's not like there's three separate things called the father, the son and the daughter above ground, and we are in the underground park section of the middle one, the father. It's that those three are the top, the archipelago, and we are the underground. We are in this. It's all one thing, but what would correspond to the father is actually, well, the masculine one rather than the mother. Yeah.
So the big massive rock outcropping on the surface of the planet.
Yeah.
Is called the father, the daughter, and the son, and it's got these three massive rocky outcroppings, and the middle one is the father. If you draw a direct line from where you've gone, you've kind of gone a circuitous route. But if you were to, fire an energy beam all the way up to the top, you'd probably blow up that mountain range.
If we had a Death Star, we could do that, but let's not.
What I'm also hearing is that Cerean society has decided that the most prominent one is the father because of the nature of Cerean society, when actually it should be the mother.
Or at least historically it used to be. Yeah.
or the daughter perhaps, but I'm getting more of a maternal rather than cisternal vibe from the serene giant head.
And my other thought is looking at the phase creatures with the cybernetics, and briefly I'm thinking, I don't know how you attach a cybernetic thing to something that can phase through other objects, but I'm guessing that's the reason why they're in the enclosure rather than in the lava, so that it doesn't fall off.
You have just preempted what Tychus was about to say, which is, how do they attach cybernetics to things that can phase through solid rock and metal?
I mean, in fairness, I think this is one of those areas where we will have similar interests.
I mean, presumably, it's got to be by consent of the creature, because otherwise they just... Either that, or they have done bad things to the jellies, which means that they cannot phase away the cybernetics. But presumably, the thing that allows the creatures to phase will not let them phase with cybernetics, because it's not part of them. If that's like an inbuilt thing, you know, like a Snegravord being able to mask itself and blend in greatly with a shadow, like that's what a Snegravord's like scales do. But if you put a harness on a Snegravord, then the harness will remain catching the light. It's why no one rides them. And if we're going to, have a pet Snegravord, then you make its collar discreet.
I mean, it's either, I'm thinking the cybernetics are something they need, but it stops them from leaving this environment rather than going back into the lava where we found all the other ones, or it traps them here. It's something which snares them.
I suppose the other case in point, and I think at this point Tychus has opened the door and gotten out of the Grabnax and is, getting outside, having made sure that everyone's got their environmental seals on.
I mean, I was wondering, how far can we go in the ship into this environment, but...
Yeah, I presume it's as far as we can go. I kind of got the feeling we'd got as far as we could drive the ship.
Assume that in the middle of where you are, you've got this kind of lake of lava, which is where you've bobbed up. And, as you look around, you can see, rocks and, a lava stream. And, if you think of it as a lake, but it's just, made out of molten rock rather than water, you've got a kind of lovely kind of lakeside scene, and you are in this massive pond, bobbing in the Grabnax, and I'm assuming you've found...
In which case I will not be getting out the Grabnax in the middle of the lava. Open the door, step out, immediately die. It's like, ah!
And because I'm not a complete idiot, I'm assuming that what you've done as a party is Kay has found a place, and there is a lovely kind of rocky outcropping that...
We have repulsors all the way around it, so we can just fly as close in as possible. Okay, strike the Tychus getting out of the Grabnax for the moment then.
Let's assume that you've parked by the kind of dockside and that you're getting out and, put your hand on a rock to make sure that you don't fall out.
Yeah.
If there's nowhere further into this thing we can get with the ship, then we are going to have to leave the ship in order to explore it further, so...
You are going to have to leave because you'd have to...
Right.
Because, the next bit along is a waterfall, and then it gets narrower and narrower and narrower and then fades off into the distance, if you see what I mean. You can see there's a waterfall between where the sun is. There's essentially a big fiery waterfall casts red on the side of his face, so he's got that kind of slightly lit up in a sinister sort of way. So that's where that's where that lava pulse leads to. But you'd have to move the ship physically. You'd have to fly it up to that point to get into.
Fortunately, we can.
You can, but this is where you get the feeling this is where you're trying to get to.
Okay, we get out, and yes, as we get out and start moving towards where we hope the entrance to the temple is. But yeah, you've got to wonder, I don't know how long these phased jellies live for, and you've got to kind of imagine if they're anything like, some of the great, oxygen jellies that we have back on Keenabale, their lifespan probably isn't massively long. So you've got to wonder, who's been attaching cybernetics to these things? If we could catch one, we could maybe have a look, but really I don't want to go chasing them because, obviously it'll upset Roy, I don't want to upset Roy, but...
Does the one in the jar, can that attract more of them? Can it bring one over?
I mean, but do we want to? Because if these have been modified with cybernetics, cluck, 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 as Tychus is walking, are they going to be guardians? Do we want to attract their attention? Are they going to be a threat now? Because they're like guard dogs.
I think, yeah.
Kind of vigilance checks from everyone. Your difficulty is 3. And are you walking towards one of these cybernetic jellies?
No.
No, they are sidetracking us from the mission.
Yeah, and also, I don't want to risk, if they are a guardian, attracting their attention any sooner than otherwise. We are looking for the closest thing we could pass to being the entrance to the temple we came here to find.
Okay.
Failure and 3 threats. Tychus is too sidetracked with all the discussion of the jellies, clearly.
Failure, but 2 advantage.
4 failures and 1 advantage.
All 3 of us are clearly too distracted by the space jellies.
I have exactly 1 success.
So, Doc, what you notice is that the cybernetic phase jellies are in a particular space that they're actually arranged. It looks chaotic, but where they have stopped, they're a conjunction of where the silver, the gold, and the crystal on the floor meet. You're like, oh, that's interesting. As Tychus and Roy both stand in those exact spaces into what they didn't see, because there's stuff underneath the ground. As you both kick these cybernetic jellies, you kind of crunch into them. You take a strain each, as Kay does the same thing. However, something different happens to Kay. Kay, you get into this convergent space, you stand there, and you suddenly get your hairs in the back of your head stand up as you get that vibe of, oh, I've stood on something dangerous. Either like that you're military trained, you have that kind of instinct that you've done something stupid. As your foot goes down and you see Rur, and everyone else sees Rur as well.
Okay, so see Rurling what way?
Rur is pulled out of you. There is a really cool special effect as there's your face, there's Rur's face, there's a split, and the ghost form of Rur is there, and he goes, "What? No, not like." And the ground beneath you glows, and there's a red pulse, and then the Rur pulses and vanishes, and you see a line of energy head towards the mouth of the sun.
Okay, well, upside K, that appears to have finished the job that the banishing crystals that Roy found a while ago started. Are you alright, though? Because that looked painful.
Hello.
No, I'm fine. I feel great, actually. I feel, yeah, it's good to be alone again. Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Let's not stand on anything else, just in case something else comes out of it.
Aye. Well, the upside is that Roy, me and you aren't also haunted, otherwise something else would happen. I'm a little bit concerned that, himself was so concerned about devoured by the ominous-looking statue head, but I'm sure that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
True. It's not like we cared about him anyway.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Quite. Okay, so let's just be a little more careful as we head on. Oh, I hope there's no more of those weird, ray shield trap things that got the dock. They were very awkward. But I suppose we know that the last temple had its guardians, so I presume this place will as well.
Yeah, stay vigilant.
Aye.
The last couple of temples had Vor as a guide / a holographic. Where are you in this building? Where what's this room for, sort of thing. And it sort of feels like that's where Roar has just been summoned to. So, do we want to be going in the direction of the sun then, or are we going towards one of the other two?
Well, I thought we were trying to. I don't know. I didn't see any doorways in the heads. Do you think the temple might be in one of the heads?
Okay.
Yeah?
Do you feel anything? This feels like this might be a kind of force thing, and it feels like it might be a kind of you and your ghostly spiritual life partner thing. Can you get any feelings about this? Can you do your thing? Or whatever it is?
No, not really. I can just see very far in the dark. I can't really see the way to go or anything like that. I'm not that sort of force person.
I am. I would like to use the Force Seek to see whether I can find the lost way in or something along those lines. Can I do that?
Yes, and you also have 2 additional white side force dice to add whilst you are in this area, for you are in a force convergence.
Right, so instead of rolling 2 force dice, I roll 4 force dice and pick which pips to use. Is that right?
Yeah, you get +2. It's when you reach out, you feel how powerful this place is.
So I've rolled 1 light side and 4 dark side pips.
Well, you're not going to be using the dark side pips, are you?
No, I can't spend 2 points to gain insight if I don't use dark side points, though. So I can spend 1 and succeed at an average vigilance check to see through illusions.
Okay, so as you reach out into the living force...
I think I've got to succeed at a vigilance check to do this as well.
It's okay, you don't need to make a vigilance check. This is the basic information.
Okay.
You would have got, had you been more successful, you would have gotten a lot more. But what you get is this. There are 5 entrances. There are 5 things to go in that are hidden. They're not really that hidden. Had you walked up to them, you think you could probably have found them. But the daughter, the mouth of the daughter statue, are what you are kind of like... They're not really hands, but you would call them, like, because it's the larger statue, it has essentially like 2 hands or two areas that are close to the statue on either side. So the daughter has 3 cave mouths to enter, if you see what I mean. There's a central one and there's one on either side. And then the sun, the mouth of the sun, as you get closer to it, you reckon you'll see a way into that structure. And the same with the father. As you get further in, you'll see a way into that structure.
Okay, so we found 5 doorways, but not really any guidance as to which one we actually want to enter through. And I'm kind of curious as to where the trails were leading across the flooring, because I'm assuming there was a pattern of... I'm going to describe like a Scalextrics pattern across the floor as to where the roar thing followed. But so did they lead towards any specific doorway?
So yes, that leads towards the sun. Rur's energy trail went towards the sun. There are no cybernetic jellies beyond about 20 meters, like in any direction. It gets to a certain point, and then there's none of those points where they've fallen on, if you see what I mean. So there's been quite a few of them have been sent. Some of them have got quite far, and then they've stopped.
So the jellies are converging around where the sun track or sun entrance is?
No. So the jellies have come out of the lava pond,
right,
floated across the way, hit one of these convergence points, and then collapsed.
Oh, right, okay.
There are other jellies that are not cybernetic that are floating around quite happily, but the ones with mechanical bits in them are on the floor. And there's quite a lot of them, which is why you noticed as you came in that there's a bunch of them scattered around that have robot parts that are just like on the ground. But you would reckon there's at least 20, maybe 100 of these things as you look around. There's quite a lot. You'd have to do a survey. And it's hard to tell if that's a jelly or if it's a rock or something else.
I think we're going to have to just pick a doorway.
So, let's just quickly think about this logically. Right. So, we know this is an Aspect 2 temple, because that's the whole point of these things. It's our Aspect 2. We know that the Aspect 2 revere Rur, and they clone themselves to extend their life, and most of the people here are Rurs who are seeking some form of immortality as well. Okay. Do we think that this temple is one that was set up by a Cerean religion that they then co-opted, hence the big Serene Motherhead? Or do we think that this is an offshoot of the Aspect 2 and they're not following Rur but following one of Rur's other disciples? I mean, the big Serene Motherhead is the one that is most calling to me. Is if you're going to have a temple, that's the one you go for, because it's clearly the most prominent here. I don't know whether or not the Sun Head is like the defense mechanism, you know.
That's what I'm thinking. It's keeping away some of the jellies with some of these cybernetic implants, and the roar was pulled away from it towards a specific thing and away from the rest. So it sounds like that's a defense thing. It seems like a binary choice. We either follow the roar and see where it was pulled to, because that's where roar's influence is, or that's where roar and its influences are being imprisoned, so they don't get into the rest of the temple.
I mean, that's true. Actually, given how long ago we know that Rur and his lot were, I wonder whether or not this was then taken over by another cult that has set these defences up so that Rur's lot... Because we saw on Kinabale that the Jedi came in and drove Rur's lot out. And Cerea is from what you were saying, it's a Jedi-ish world.
We've sent people to Jedi temples for eons, yeah.
So maybe they came in afterwards and purified this place, and that the sun is a root trap in case any aspect came back, in which case it's definitely not where we're going to want to go, because that's not... I reckon we go for the big mother head as the most prominent and see what's in there, because there might well be a map in there or something. It's certainly the biggest of the three.
Yeah, and that's what. There's only one doorway at that one, because the daughter was where the daughter with the 3 doorways was underneath one of the father.
There's 5 doorways. There's a doorway to the father, there's a doorway to the son, and there's 3 doorways for the daughter.
Sorry, I keep saying mother, but yes, daughter.
Yeah, it's because there's the mother below ground, the daughter is the only female above ground.
So there's only one woman in this trinity, and she's called the daughter. But as Tychus keeps getting the vibe, it's in fact all womanhood. It's also the biggest of the. It's the most obvious influence in the architecture and design, and it flips the facade of the world. And like when the dog thinks about this, there's like a little smile comes to you, because you know what the truth behind Syrian society is. And you're like, there's just this little smile of that makes sense.
But like that's also why in Tychus's head it's the mother rather than the daughter, because she seems larger and more powerful. So
yeah, it's been deprioritized above, but it's the womanhood thing, and that's the most prominent thing.
And when Tychus thinks of powerful women, he thinks of his mum, because you didn't cross Tychus's mum unless you wanted 4 consecutive backhands. So right, so I think we go into the mother head. Let's just go through the middle doorway. Okay, Kay, you've got the fastest reactions. So if me and you go first, and I'll see if there's any mechanical traps, and if so, or security systems, and if so, try to stop them. And if there are, you can jump out of the way and alert me, because you're,
All right. My problem is that whilst I've got very quick reactions, I can't see very well. He points up at his cybernetic eye. It's not an enhancement.
It's fine, because... And Tychus clicks a button on his exo armor, and some torches pop up and turn on. You know, we're going in lava. I figure we might need a light source.
It is a light source.
I'll just keep them pointed roughly in an array around us. And yeah, Red, I think the two of us advance on the middle doorway of the daughter statue.
Is Roy bringing the jar?
I am entirely bringing the jar, and I'm paying attention as to whether or not this thing suddenly starts... Well, actually, no, I'm not bringing the jar, because he's not in the jar anymore. He's just hovering with my shoulder.
It's just on your shoulder, kind of like following you, like a duckling following a mother duck, almost, like a chick that has imprinted on you.
I'm getting a very big vibe of Morph from Treasure Planet. You know, Silver's parrot that's just a load of blobs? No?
I have never seen Treasure Planet.
It's a good film.
It's really good. Roy is staying completely out of any discussions about religion or whatever, and is mostly focusing on the squid, who he's going to name Flash, because we flash colours, and I like that. Although it's tempting to call him Blink, but that was just become Blinky, and then that you can't scream Blinky with any real drama. It's going to be awkward. So Flash. Flash the squid. And yeah, I'm just paying attention to him, and when you guys start making a movement, I'll follow you.
So, completely for free without making a roll, basically the way these things work is they bob round, and if there's something that they don't like, they vanish, and if there's something that they want, they phase through any object to get to it and then pull it to them, if you see what I mean. And there's a lot of interaction between the crystalline birdie things and these blobby things, where they both seem to spend a lot of time avoiding each other and occasionally eating each other. It's just like every once in a while there's just and like, you know, there's a state change. Suddenly there's less birds and more blobby things, or more blobby things and more birds and less blobby things. But like there does seem to be like this kind of whole... This is very safari vibes as to where you are. Adam, what would you like Tychus to roll in order to check for traps in this ancient jungle, magical jungle temple place?
I think vigilance, because he doesn't know where to specifically look, but he is kind of moving forward with all of his senses alert, and the advanced optic suite that's built into my armor not only helps like deal with perceptive difficulties that might otherwise impact, like smoke or darkness or other vision obscuring environmental things. Because he's got a thing that's basically from like the Crash Look armor style thing. It increases his reaction times because it's got a motion sensor built into it, like an emergency thing. So if something starts moving very suddenly that he's not picked up, it flashes up to let him know. So it's kind of like a cybernetic danger sense that's kind of built into it. So I think that he's going to be walking forward slowly, eyes wide, but not looking directly ahead. He's relying on his peripheral visions and his technological enhancements to survive in it, because Tychus survives on his tech. You know, that's one of his big defining features.
So make that vigilance roll, please. The difficulty is 2.
A single success.
There are no mechanical traps here. You're pretty sure that the convergences are what you think they do. But the thing that you do notice is that in order to get to the middle area, there are 2 rocky outcroppings that are identical to each other that don't quite vibe. There's lots of rocky outcroppings with like crystals and things and animals.
But they're too similar.
But these 2 are too similar, and the more you look at them, the more they look like enormous figures crouched down. As a stone, made out of stone, but enormous figures crouched down.
But we have encountered peculiar guardians before. I mean, admittedly droids, but we've seen some stuff in our journeys. He raises one of his hands to signal everyone to stop. His other hand on that side taps K to kind of get K's attention. And then his other 2 arms point to the rocks, and he kind of subvocalizes. I suppose we're only speaking through comms because we can't not speak through comms because we'll die. Do they look a little bit too identical to you?
You very clearly get the idea that he wasn't really paying attention. You're right, he does not focus very well on things. So he only just notices them as you click, and he goes, oh yeah, no, you're right. But they're stone, right? They're statues, right?
Aye, but like, we have seen weird droids powered by kyber crystals, we have seen giant cloned basilisks, we have seen soul transference, and, you know, they could be droids that, like, the lava has settled a crust on them to make them look like rock. They could be some form of weird automata.
Yeah, let's be careful.
Aye, and I think that Tychus unslings Clementine and sets her on charge.
So the entire party can now make either skullduggery or perception checks. The difficulty is 1, but I'm looking for what you get in terms of successes. And let me know which one you're making as well, because it changes my answer.
They're both identical for me, so I might roll skullduggery and let the people with perception roll perception.
Yeah, I'm going
so
perception.
Yeah, they're identical to me as well.
2 failure and an advantage on my skullduggery test, Ed.
Okay.
I'm going to go with skullduggery, and it's 1 success.
Okay.
2 successes on perception.
All right, I'm going for perception. That is 1 advantage.
Okay, so Tychus and Roy, you can't quite figure out what is going on, but you do notice that there's like track marks, there's movement marks, there's things where things have moved and indentations nearby. And you're like, those look like lava rock pools. Oh, they look off. That's what you're getting for the advantage. You're not actually looking at the thing themselves, you look at the environment and you go, and you both get distracted by the fact that it's like, they kind of look like footprints. Talking K, the more you look at them, the more you realise that this is stone folded in on itself. And it's K who, as you look up, you're like, oh, those aren't just crystal outcroppings, those are eyes. That's it, it's range. That's it looking. If we stand there and wave, it'll probably see us, if you see what I mean.
Alright, so Kay nods towards it, says eyes, and just unclips the safety on his gun. Doesn't get it out, just unclips it to make it easy to draw.
Okay. So we need to find another way around them then, do you think?
Either that or we can be diplomatic. How are you at diplomacy?
Oh, you know me, Kay, everyone's my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
But down here... Ed, I'm going to look around to see if there's a way that we could get up and behind them, even if that involves climbing, because I have got my integrated ascension gear, And if I can then get to the top of something like that, I can then lower that down and hold people up, and we can effectively free climb over around to the other side of them rather than having to walk through their field of gaze. I'm kind of getting the sphinxes from Neverending Story. Is it Neverending Story here? Where they're kind of, if you walk between them, they laser eye you.
Yeah, so that's a good instinct. So what you reckon you could do is if you went to the father and then ascended where the father was, and then you could probably build a rope bridge and drop down. But going any other way puts you in range, if you see what I mean. You'd have to go that far out to go that far in.
Would we be able to go to the door in the father then without going through their range?
Yes, you can go to the father and the son. It's only
the mother.
It's only the mother, and it's only really the middle temple, like the main bit is guarded. The what I describe as the hands don't seem to be. You could probably quite easily, providing that you walk circuitously, you could probably get into the left or right hand without triggering these things. But the heart of the daughter's mouth is protected.
Yeah. I quickly pop up the data slate that's on my upper left forearm and scribble that on the map, and then I send that to everybody's kind of
heads-up display.
Yeah, heads-up display. You kind of go, okay, right, so it looks like that we can make our way round to any of the other entrances, just not the main entrance on the mother. So do we want to try going into one of her hands first and then seeing if there's a way into the main body that way, or do we want to go to the father or the son and see if there's a way we could turn off any defensive mechanisms? Maybe the son, since that looks like that's where the anti-rear defense mechanism is. That might be the security hub for all of this stuff.
I mean, it seemed to me like that was more like, if there's raw influences, that's where we want to lock it away, not that's where we want to put the control mechanism.
Yeah, so maybe the son is the prison.
Yeah.
The father might be, well, we don't know, but if we think the son, should we try the father first then and see if there's a off switch there? Because I reckon if we go, and again I kind of quickly doodle onto my very rough map a pathway. If we go this way around here, I can climb up here and drop a line down and we can get there. It's a little bit more of a walk, but like, we have enough air in our suits to last, so we should be able to manage that. What do we think?
Yeah, that's well worth having a go.
Back to the father then.
It's a short walk to the father. You do notice that as you, things get less chaotic as you walk towards this part of the temple. There's still creatures flying around, there's still things being kind of weird and fluffy, and there's all sorts of strangeness going on. But it just gets a little bit more, it's less discordant. It becomes a little bit more lyrical, a little bit more ordered as you head towards this particular area. Essentially, the closer you get to it, the more obvious there is an entrance here. From the distance you were, quite hard to see, but now you're there, it's like, oh, that is a way in. That is a cave mouth. Who's going in first?
Again, I think probably Tychus. Because also, sorry, are you going to...
No, sorry, I'll follow up. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because you've got quicker reflexes, but I've got better armour. So
yes.
Tychus, okay. Then is it Roy, then the doc?
I think probably the doc, then Roy. Roy usually brings up the rear because, again, Roy has many guns.
Plus, I'm mostly meandering slowly with my jellyfish friend.
Yeah, I mean, tactically thinking, Tychus like, hey, Roy will take up the back, he's tougher than the doc, he's got better armour, he's got much more guns, they've got better range. But realistically, yes, it's because you're like, ooh, flying thing, boop-a-doop-a-doop, butterflies.
So, Tychus, as the beams on your suit illuminate the cave, it's like they've hit the right crystals, the right light channel, because as soon as the light hits, you get this natural, it's not bioluminescent, it's natural crystalline effect where light channels and the whole place starts to illuminate.
Yeah, like when the Egyptians would use polished gold plates to reflect sunlight all the way down. It's that kind of, the light hits and then it reflects around and bounces off more light sources so that one candle can light an entire hall.
And the first thing you see is on the cave entrance in crystal, it's a star map of where Cerea is, and it's like a visual cave painting description of the world. And as you reach the main antechamber, And I'm assuming you're all like one by one going through and looking around. And it's almost like a kind of museum display of, welcome to the world of Cerea, but ancient and beautiful art of people describing the world that they live in. And then as you get into the main antechamber, the antechamber is vast and you are on the lip of it, so it pops down. You would have to go down to examine everything that you can see. And they are a vast array of crystals. And there's many, many, many crystalline statues of birds, of insects, of animals, of plants. And Doc, you do not need to roll. Anyone else might want to, but Doc, you can just say this, Doc. This is the life of this world. Some of these things, you notice that there's, for want of a better word, the Syrian dodo, that crystal is dulled and broken. It's a great tragedy of your people. A couple of 100 years ago, it died. But you see all of these tiny statues of all of these creatures. And you specifically, like, in your brain, you're just like, I can name all of these. I know I can name all of these. But that's not the shocking thing or wonderful thing that you see. In the approximate middle, down, there is in ordo aspectu robes, a mummified corpse of a Syrian who looks so much like the Doc. So much like the Doc. And I think we'll leave it there.
Force Majeure is played using the Star Wars Force and Destiny game system by Edge Studios. Our intro music is by the amazing Sly Fox Audio. Check out more of her work at soundcloud.com/SlyFoxAudio. Our outro music is Suburban Outlaw instrumental version by Forget the Whale, used with gratitude under a Creative Commons license. Many of the sound effects and soundscapes are created using Sirenscape, because epic games need epic sounds. If you're enjoying the show and want to support us, there's 3 ways you can do that. The first is by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/ForceMajeurePod, where for as little as $1 a month you get access to outtakes, adverts, various other stuff, and my fortnightly ramblings. You can drop us a coffee at ko-fi.com/ForceMajeurePod, or you can leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to interact with us, there's a few ways you can do that. We are on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter as @ForceMajeurePod, and we're over on Mastodon as @ForceMajeurePod at dice.camp. You can also join our Discord, link in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening and being with us as we tell these stories. We hope you are having fun, and we will see you next time.